Hey, Bill and Gunn, welcome to the program today, and we're here at the Yidindji office, the government office that is, and if you're listening to this program or watching it, thanks for joining us, and we want to thank the Yidindji Broadcast Service, and of course if you're listening to this on the radio, it's via the National Indigenous Radio Service inside of Australia, or via the YBS, which is the Yidindji Broadcast Service. Today we've got some, obviously we've got the guests here, and we've got a couple of government ministers. Ganyara of Yalma Borough is the Attorney General, and we have Bumi of Gimoy Borough, Minister for Police and Minister for Cultural Affairs. Good morning, Ministers. How are we?
Good.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks. Good to be down here again.
Yeah, it is good. And look, this is a wonderful opportunity to let the world know about the Yidindji Nation, but not only that, this program is to talk about things about government, about tribal governments, and how we're plugging into this treaty with the Commonwealth of Australia. So there's actually a number of people watching the program, and so thank you very much for your audience today. One of the things that we'll go to, if you don't mind, is if you haven't already, have a look at the Yidindji government website. We've got a number of pages in the social medias as well. This is the Facebook page here that you can see, and it has a number of posts and things that you can see here. There's that's a big face. Oh, another big face there, and you can see a number of things that are going on in the Facebook page. You'll also find that our program is also listed here. This is from the other week, and the LinkedIn. If you're using LinkedIn, then you can. The government doesn't have a specific account. However, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, which is the ministry that I take care of, does have a page here, and you can find various information as well. So you can go through here, and that has all types of information. For example, let's have a look here. Some of our posts here, which is the Yidindji dollars. This is what it would look like, for example, and you can have a look and comment and have a look. Twitter, there's also here. This is the Sovereign Yidindji Government, for example, if you are fond of tweeting. So it's all there. And we'll continue to promote that. If you're using a number of platforms, then we can do that. And so, Ganyara, I might just go to you about, I guess, the importance of the treaty aspect. A lot of people are beginning to in the Australian world as well, in terms of the legal community there, the people of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander heritage inside of Australia, also learning about capacities and treaties, so that's a very important thing.
Yeah, look, thanks for having us on. It's always good to talk about this stuff. Sorry about that. Treaty is the most important part. Now, one thing we've got to get clear right from the start is Yidindji is not going to cede all of its sovereignty. There will be the land, for example, the territory is not up for grabs. There's no ifs and no buts about that. This will always be Yidindji territory. What we will envisaged through a treaty is to tender out some of the processes to the Commonwealth of Australia, such as building administrative stuff, those sort of legal bodies where people will do certain jobs for Yidindji. They will do the administrative work, such as how do you say, main roads, for example. Now, do we have the workforce to build a main road? No, we don't. Or to upgrade the streets? No, we don't. You see what I'm saying? This is what we would tender out, this administrative stuff. Everything else, though, such as the environment, such as our sovereignty, will never be ceded. Our sovereignty will never go. We will have authority over our country. There's no ifs and no buts about that. The things that are mundane every day, we have to work with Australia in a treaty, in the Commonwealth of Australia. That is, Australia is the representative body between the international UN member states. So, say for example, I want to fly to Canada. I want to get on a plane, fly over there. So Australia has a passport system that works already. But what they do have to marry is our passport to their passport. and then they oversee us, our travel arrangements to go overseas, to go to Canada, for example. So yeah, it's there is stuff that we will give to Australia in our defence of the territory. Do we want to raise a standing army? You know, we don't have the capacity to do that, let alone buy military hardware. Not that we want to. Why would we want to buy military hardware when Australia have it sitting there? That is to appoint Australia now to be doing the stuff protecting the territory borders. So, say for example, the US want to invade us. Yeah, not that they would, but say they do. It'll be Australia's role under the treaty to defend us from the US or from China or from any other UN member state if they accept the treaty.
Yeah, it's all about security of person, security of tenure. One of the things that, thanks to people that are contributing to the Facebook page, one of the questions here comes from Daniel Kinchler. How would a treaty with a tribe that is incorporated, that has a standing but no tribal law, look like? I'm just curious. So I think what Daniel may be alluding to here, if Australia doesn't have tribal law as such, and how can we treaty with it?
Well, that's why we had to create the Yidindji government. The Yidindji nation has country, it has territory, it has law, it has real law. It's the owner of the place, it is everything. So if it is everything, it's way over and above what Australia ever thought about being.
Yes.
So we had to create this thing underneath that, at the same level as the Commonwealth of Australia. So this thing called the Yidindji government is just a piece of paper created by us to equal their piece of paper called their government. And that's the nuts and bolts of it. We will always be the owners, we will always be the place. And remember, we're operating in man-made law, in paper law. So it's all paper. There is no homeland, there is no territory for the Commonwealth of Australia. Where is their homeland today? Where is it? There is none. They don't have it, and that's the very reason why we need to go down the road to a treaty. That treaty to give them consent to be present upon our territory. It's ours, not theirs. Their territory will be building as each and every tribal nation gives it some more territory. So they'll get a bit of they'll get access to our territory. Then they'll get access to the Yidindji territory next door. Then they'll get access to Kukujungan territory next door. So it'll grow like that. They'll never own the actual land mass, the trees, the birds, the water, whatever. That's always in the realm of the tribal people. It's theirs from day one. It always has been.
And that's what another contributor to the question was. I think it's Kylie Jerome on Facebook saying that why would you treaty away all of your sovereignty? I think that's a very important thing to understand, that what the Yidindji government is doing is saying, well, look, let's say we've got the restaurant. The restaurant we own, we're serving the food that we want to serve, but we need a chef. So Australia can apply to be the chef at the restaurant, and we'll say, this is your job, you do this, you cook it this way, this is what we want you to do. And if the chef, for example, wanted to introduce new flavours to the menu or whatnot, fair enough, that's within your scope. However, if the chef wants to interfere with the cleaner and the bookkeeper and other things, then that's not where it comes. And the chef can never own the restaurant.
No.
It's just running the kitchen part.
Well, and the important part to remember is, under treaty, you will be able to tender out certain activity. You can tender out all of your sovereignty or part of it, little bits and pieces of it, as much or as little as what your tribe wants to do, as your nation. So in saying that, if Australia does not toe the line, and this is the important part, if they do not toe the line in accord with all the terms and conditions of the treaty is over and dead. It's finished. They breached the terms and conditions of a contract, it's finished. Australia, you're no longer the one to hold some of our authority, be it whatever it is, be it defence of the territory of the realm, be it looking after the main roads, be it running the hospitals or the hospital system, whatever we want to grant to it. And this is what I keep saying to everyone. What does your tribal nation want to put forward in the treaty process?
A prenuptial agreement.
You've got to have this worked out well before, and I mean well before, the talk of a treaty even gets to that with the Commonwealth of Australia. We know what we want to tender forward, what we're going to put forward, and if Australia don't want it, that'll be too bad, so sad. There's plenty more UN member states out there that may possibly want it, because we have a right to see some, if not all, of our sovereignty. Now, we're not going to, and I'll make this very clear, we are not ceding all of our authority.
Absolutely not.
We are going to be in control.
It goes against the very law.
Absolutely.
Of the Yidindji nation.
We want to be in control of our nation and our territory, and that's the important part to remember. Australia is the intruders on our territory. We're not intruding on Australia. We're offering Australia a remedy to the problem it created going back at least 120 years, if not 250 years. When Cook sailed in, he made a major blue by claiming the whole east coast, including Tasmania, standing on an island up there at Torres Strait. He didn't tell the local mob what he was doing. So by doing that, did he really have a sound contract? He didn't. And then Australia come along in 1900 or 1901 and said, we don't want the blackfellas in, which was really good to us. It left Yidindji in a good position now to have the upper hand in the deal, the big end of the stick, so to speak. Australia does not have a territory. Where is it? We have our territory. We know where ours is, and ours is marked on a map very clearly, and it's acknowledged by the courts of Australia that is our territory under our system of land tenure. So what we're going to tender forward, we've got certain things we want to tender forward to let Australia oversee and run. In conjunction, but they must consult and cooperate in good faith, and I mean this, in good faith with the Yidindji nation. If they come forward in bad faith, the treaty is finished, it's dead. They have nowhere to go to.
And one of the things that I think about, if tribes don't go down this track by forming their governments or their legal personality or councils, whatever they're called, in their own capacity, then by remaining in the Commonwealth of Australia or in the Australian realm, then they are allowing Australia to administer their territory without that.
But they're surrendering their consent to Australia already by being part of the problem.
And that is, in you could interpret it as handing over sovereignty to
all of it
temporarily at that time. So once people know this, then you can't really say, well, you can always go back to your law and reinvigorate it and instruct the Commonwealth of Australia and offer it a treaty to be sitting correctly on your territory. One of the important things now, as a government, and Bumi, we just want to say thank you because of your leadership and many others on the Yidindji territory about going down this track. Not only you're the Cultural Affairs Minister, that you want to introduce all the Yidindji knowledge and information to the schools in the area here up in the Yidindji territory, but congratulations on your recent appointment as the Minister for Police. It's a very important job, if you want to talk about that.
See, being a Minister of Police, as an elder for the Yidindji tribe, that I get some of my people from up north come down, and I want to talk to them because, see, when the white men came, they gave us smoke. That alcohol came, and it's a job for me to talk to them now. And when they see an elder of kins, see, we all got elders in our tribe, and when my dad said to Gribble, he told Gribble to go. He was a minister in Yarrabah. Gribble showed him a Bible and a gun, and they called Dad Crocodile, Black Crocodile. Dad was too good for him, but in his way of Aboriginal man knows the law of the land. And then Tintail had to go and talk to him about his family tree, so he told him to go too. Now I'm Peter Hyde now, Bumi too, and I want to go along the beach. I want to share my. If Dad and them they can do it, well, surely I can do it. I can't make a miracle, but has to sit down and we talk about culture, about these things what's going into our body now, because it's a poison. Alcohol is poison. Smoke. We got doctors there and that, but to sit down to them, try do my best to them, and I've been doing that for a while now, and people on the beach do exercise. They said, Uncle, they've been here yesterday. I said, well, I'll be around now. And so one day there I have a talk to them, and I more or less started finishing but I don't get paid. I want to do it from my heart, you know, that to sit there and see an elder. Because out now, like when you come to Australia, when you come into Cairns, Gimoi, you come here, you will always look for an elder. It's just like a long time ago. Get an elder. They'll sit you down and talk to you, you know. And I want to play that part, you know, to help my people because, you know, yeah.
Well, I think it's really important because, as you mentioned, your grandfather and your father, Boa, and these are very important men of the Yidindji society that were peacekeepers in their own right.
Yeah.
And not only are you the Minister for Police in the Yidindji realm and the Yidindji government, but in the Australian realm, you also had some experience as a police officer.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah.
This is why you're very well positioned for the job.
Yeah, well, going back to Yarrabah, I work as a community police there. Used to take to court and not much of a good reading and writing, but that knowledge that got from my dad, like how to handle these things, you know, handle your own mob, and that's very good what he left with me. See, some people, they get language and they get that fishing in them, and they get this dancing in them, and they get this home life in them, and you get that cooking. So we had to look at our parents and our mother, you know, although we come from a family, you know, while my mum walked from Cloncurry and Dad walked from the Barron over to Yarrabah, all these places in Gimoi now. So we took that on board, and how should I say, it wasn't a shame thing, but it was a good thing. And the shame came along, not to say that we're a perfect family, but the shame came along after it. We had full grip of this thing, of this land, of a tribal thing. You know, we didn't have medicine, but that sitting down and that gift, you know, like it's a good thing. And when you're a language tribal man in that family, that's the main head. And I just feel sorry, you know, like not so sad, but when we started getting on board and trying to wipe people away, but you got to stay with the right people too to put you on that path, you know, like. So I can say a lot of things. Sometimes I don't go off track. It's just I can't put everything in one package in one time, and we'll be right, you know, like. You know.
Well, this is a Yidindji program. We can talk about anything we like. It's not paid by certain advertiser or anything like that. So in that sense, this show is about 100% Yidindji, and so we thank you for whatever stories you do, because it is part of that story, the Cultural Affairs Ministry, you know. But I like the, you know, you nearly every day go up and down for a walk on the Esplanade, and people are coming to you to ask for help. And that's the Yidindji police now, because yes, you'll have a badge and a uniform and a government ministry, but at the end of the day, it's something, like you said, you do from the heart. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah,
like doing that now, like, is very good, you know, that I was sort of gifted on that area that I can say, hello, how you going, you know, and I can go up and talk to them, you know. Then I can weigh it up there and look from a little bit of distance. I say, maybe I don't want to go there. Or if I walk past and they see that badge on me, then, or I can tell them about it, you know, about what this means, you know. And in Cairns, like, it's a big city for everybody, come from far and wide, that it's up on the top, and you've got the Great Barrier Reef, and so when they see something like that too, they'll say, oh, we'll ask him where's the next place to go, or ask him how we get to Jabbergai, or ask him how we get to these rivers, and I can tell them, you know, or tell them about myself, you know, that we're still here, you know, that. See, most of them they might get a fright. They'll be saying, oh, a lot of things happen up here, we better not talk to him. But when you sit me down, I can tell them, you know, like I do a lot of schoolwork and sharing there, and like I'll share them with them too, you know. Yeah, so I can't wait for that shirt and trousers to I can put it on so I can be notified, Yeah.
Well, that's good, and this is the thing, Ganyari, is that we are very much looking at, like you said, not reinventing the wheel as much. We don't foresee us having a self-defence force with the tanks and everything else. The Commonwealth of Australia already has that on our territory, so let's put it to good use. Let's give it that validity at law that we will often speak about on this program. But not only that, we've said this from the very beginning, that the Yidindji nation is not interested in guns. It's not interested in six-shooters or Glocks there are skilled men and women on this territory that know how to use that equipment already. And that's what I'm saying now. The QPS, the AFP, or the Australian Defence Force, the anaesthetists at the hospital, they have skills that will enrich the Yidindji nation, and we can look after them by having this nation-to-nation treaty, which is what this is all about. So what Bumi's saying there is perfect. I mean, I will get you to talk about it a little bit more, about the water police and how they, talk about that and ask you to, help them out sometimes. But that's just a beautiful relationship that's happening now, and I think that's going to be something that's going to be very strong on our territory, Ganyara.
Well, it sure is. Look, our police have a role to play. They will be unarmed, I'll tell you now. There won't be a gun in amongst them. The Queensland Police have the arms, have the firearms. We don't want to go there, but the two have to work together, including AFP, because eventually what is going to happen, and I can see this coming a mile away, there's going to be Australians and citizens from other UN member states, and then there's going to be tribal people that are outside of the Constitution of Australia. And the AFP, the Australian Federal Police, and the Queensland Police Service will have no jurisdiction over them people. What we're trying to do is, through the Yidindji Police Force, is to strengthen their police force. So our police will be handling the issues where citizens are outside of the Commonwealth of Australia. They're outside of another UN member state. So, for example, if one of our Yidindji proper citizens that is not a member of the Commonwealth of Australia, if they start misbehaving in our territory, how do we keep track of them? How do we sort them out? You see, this is where Bumi, as the police minister, comes into play.
Yes.
He's the one with the authority, being empowered by the original old people to go forward and sort out tribal issues in tribal territory. And if he needs, he can then call QPS under the treaty, say, look, I need some backup. Or I need a hand here. I need workforce, because he's got good contacts inside QPS. So some of the old original contacts are still there, and they're good ones. So this is how we can work together. This is what a treaty does. The treaty won't take away our police minister. The treaty won't take away our foreign affairs minister, but it will bolster our police minister. It will say, okay, under the treaty, if you are needing a hand, give us a ring. Ring Queensland Police. And they must turn up. If they don't turn up to lend assistance, then the treaty is over. This is what I'm saying. The treaty is such a powerful tool if we understand exactly what it is. And we must know that before we enter into a talk about or negotiation about a treaty with that of Australia. We've got to understand what we're going into and how we're going to do this. And the terms and conditions will be laid out very clearly for Australia to see. And if they don't abide by all the terms and conditions, it's contract law. If they don't abide by all the terms and conditions, it's over. We will find someone who can do that for us.
And that's, you just nailed it on the head as well. I mean, the question we had before about dealing with the Commonwealth of Australia, which has no tribal law, it simply is a matter of contract law. And, that's just putting it down on paper and start to work these things out. Bumi, let's talk about your relationship with some of the police already. I think, for example, the water police here that operate in and around the inlet of Gimoy, they're very interested in working with you as an elder, but it'll be exciting for you to work with them as a police minister in the future.
Yeah. So when I get my clothes, my uniform, I'll go down there and say, this is my uniform. My tribal uniform, my label. And I'll work with them then. See, they said to me, they said, Uncle, we want you to come with us up and down the inlet here, along this coast here. And when they see you, they see peace. But if you're not here, and they see us, more or less they see trouble, or they see jail, or court. So they said to me that I'm going to go down there often. But now that we're getting on board now, that I'll go down with my uniform and show them. And I said, this is me now. I'll be wearing my badge, my Yidindji badge. And so they're drinking and chucking papers over and cans and that, so they want me to talk to them. But they'll be there with me. So if anything get out of hand, they'll, But when I'm with them, they'll see peace, they'll start listening then.
And this is the beautiful thing too, Gunyara, is that that treaty will enable the minister to get full briefings on things that are quite complex as well, not just things like Bumi just mentioned. There would be, for example, there might be police from Malaysia coming in, or China or whatever for joint operational training or exercises. Bumi would have to be consulted about that to welcome them and to share the badges, and I've seen that happen with military exercises or even just international exchange programs where they do that. So it's not by any means. It has the full authority of the Yidindji nation. This police ministry is an important job, the same way we treat the Foreign Affairs Ministry as a serious matter, the same with the Attorney General. The Yidindji government is here to do business, and it's very serious business. We have fun doing it, no doubt, but this isn't Mickey Mouse.
Oh, look, it's deadly serious. Under traditional law, the original law, capital punishment applies. It is deadly serious. There's make no two bones about this. This is serious law. A number of people over in history have suffered at the hands of capital punishment within Yidindji for the misdeeds they've done. They've done the wrong thing. They paid the price. So we've got to understand this. Capital punishment still resides inside tribal law, of which Uncle here, as being one of the very wise ones, can oversee that so it's not abused or used. Actually, we don't even want to use the capital punishment. We want this to come back to equate to laws of like the Commonwealth of Australia.
Yeah.
But just be very aware that if you're in a tribal capacity and you are doing the wrong thing and you've got no ability to be seen or heard in the Australian realm through the lack of jurisdiction, because Australia can only go as far as what its constitution lets it go. Now, if there are tribal people misbehaving that are causing harm and injury to other people, then tribal law will have to enforce some of the tribal laws upon those people, and that is very serious law.
And that's where we talk about those administrative gaps where there may be potential people that reside outside of the laws of the Commonwealth or the Yidindji nation, and that's that very, very sensitive space that caution and extra care must be applied to working out that things are done properly in that area.
Well, in saying that, Queensland Police will be outside of the jurisdiction of all the tribes if there's no treaty. That's period, end of argument. If these people are acting in their true capacity,
yes,
and we'll go back to Article 5 of the UN Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People. It says Indigenous peoples have a right to revitalise all their institutions, courts, government, policing, whatever it may be. We have a right to go and do that, while we have a right to take part in the life of the state if we so choose. The question arises, what if we don't so choose to take part in the life of the state? If we don't want to take part in the life of the state, then we're outside of Australia. That's the end of the argument. We are not in Australia, so that leaves the jurisdiction, that leaves the position of Queensland Police having no force or effect over us. They may arrest us occasionally and put us into the court. And the court will say, well, if you're not one of ours, there's a door, get out. They have to do that. They can only enforce law upon their citizens or citizens of one of the UN member states that Australia has a treaty with, about the application of criminal law, for example. But when our world is here, we are not subject to Australian law, period, end of argument.
100%.
Unless there's a treaty in place. And only then, through a jurisdictional agreement, can we take part in that world.
Yes.
So we may be residing outside of Australia full time, we may not be, we may be there all the time in Australia, but it's up to us to work it out. But Queensland Police can only be empowered by what we're doing. And when our police minister talks to their police minister, then the two must exchange, like you said, what's going on in the territory, because they must consult and cooperate in good faith. So if they don't cooperate and consult in good faith, the treaty's finished.
Well, there was dispossession, then there will be repossession.
Well, we never lost the place. They call it dispossession, but they haven't paid us for the place yet. This is something I keep going back to.
Yes.
They ain't taken it, but you've still got to pay for the place. So it's our place, and the court acknowledges that these old people are still the real blood connection to that country. They are the ones that own this place, not Australia. No Australian owns this. It's these old people do. That's why Uncle is so important as the police minister, because he's got the wisdom to be able to, I suppose, control how the tribal law is applied.
And by doing that, I think he's looking after the Australian police and the tribal people that may visit here from different nations. So, and looking after Yidindji. Isn't that right?
Yeah. See, like this now, as an elder, that I see things, that it's not right for the people of Yidindji, our tribe. Now, people get in their heart, they're selling it over Yarrabah. Well, like I could have said, we should go from here to Canada and that, with our stamp, or I should say that, or with our ticket, or with our passport. There should be no struggle. That's our hard work in Australia. We got a head in every camp here, and we're still here. Like we see a butcher shop now, we see a shop, we see this and that. Now, I'm not supposed to say I'm stepping forward now to do this work. I want to do this work because I'm a traditional owner. That I want to do this job. One of them fellow come from far and wide. They'll be so proud to see me because they got cooking to eat now. And this young fellow come from over there, and I tell them this, and I say, you from there? And I Bill and Gunner, I welcome, and I feel glad too. And I know a lot of people around here. Like talking to doctors, 150, they asking me about the heading was about pain. I said, well, this is what it is really about. And now that, like we say, we need to move forward now. So we want to be seen as a lighthouse now. See, you see a lot of people, they get on the seat there, always growling, bang, growl, growl, growl. They never do that before, and when I look at it now, we talk to people. We want to help them in life, and you got to give people something. See, a long time my dad had to dance for them, and that's a big thing. That he put something in Yarrabah. He never go there and start slapping them around or anything like that. He said, come here. And the white man seen that. But now coming back to here now, that we got your shirt and trousers on, but I don't know if I should say that, but to me that there's a lot of things got to still go on. And with you and with the Prime Minister, who's, and all this and that, is to... If the police can say to me, if we take you, and they're up in there too, and that's something, But we see that before that, that before we was on their side. But now they come on our side. So they see the power in us, as an Indian, as an Aboriginal man, You got to get them. They're the traditional owner. If another fellow stand up and say to him, he's a traditional owner, and they'll look and say, no, you're not. But when they see the rightful owner of the land, they will come in and say, well, you've got to listen to what he say. And in this world, we always got somebody, And, jolly, I want to see something in Gimoy now. We're on this radio, we putting ourselves now out here, that we'll do our best of best, and there's a lot of things going downhill with our lot, but we're going to tell them rise up now. The only thing will hurt them go a little bit more yet.
Yeah, you're right.
That people from Aboriginal people from other parts, so they're going to learn to understand that they must come behind us now, so we can have that one route, and to help in the right way, not trying to dominate their life or anything, but to say, you should come behind me then, we should have a talk about this thing, see? Sitting down like Dad done. I got a lot of pictures about Dad. He had a shield there, sitting along the kid along the beach, and Dad didn't teach him this, and I going along there and I teach kids about how I walked in life, So now that, why should I get stopped, Because they come here, we don't say anything to them, and they want me to go to their country, and I'm welcome there, because I went down there and they said, oh, he's an Aboriginal guy, and they talk, and sometimes most of their language, and they're glad to see your appearance there, But here seems to be a hole, in Australia. Oh, you can't do it, you can't have this, you can't have that, always want to put us under their feet all the time, and that's got to stop, Yeah.
And you mentioned there before that kalka, and when we're looking at this police badge here, the Yidindji one, it has the shield on there, and you are very much a holder of that information for a lot of different shields and things like that. You don't have to talk about that, because we already know that you are the Cultural Affairs Minister, so your knowledge in this area is important. But the Yidindji police badge there, Mayara Nyalji, and it's got everything on there. It's a beautiful badge, and it's something that will be not only donned on by the the police minister, but also other Yidindji peacekeeping officers. So, Ganyara, this is a very important step. Like we're saying, it is serious business, and I just think it's wonderful to see.
Well, it is. We've got to rebuild all our institutions, and this is the important part for people to understand. Now, I was reading an interesting article recently put forward by an Aboriginal lawyer. She's quite well known. She's a good lawyer. No ifs and no buts about that. About the seeds of an Indigenous nation.
Well, let's have a look at that. I've got that here on the screen. You can see it here.
Now this woman is very bright. There's no ifs and no buts about it.
Absolutely. Tila Reid.
Yeah. Look, but it's not the seeds of a nation. Now, what Uncle was trying to say there was the tree's already there. Come under the one big trunk of the tree, the one Yidindji. Now, she's saying, you got to go and plant the seeds again. No, we don't. What we got to do is revitalise the tree. We've got to go back to the tree. Now, she's getting it right, what she's saying there. We've got to go back. It's outside of Australia. We've got to go and to let Australia be here upon our territory. So she's a bright woman. Really is. Can't say that enough. And it's good to see her being very proactive in saying this stuff. But the tree is still there. And it's just that it says, the heart of seeding in First Nation sovereignty. Well, let's look at it as a tree. The big tree has always been here. It always will be here. And that's what Yidindji is. It's the big tree that Uncle was saying. Let's go back to that. And let's stand under the big tree that's already there. So this is what we're trying to do, is to rebuild all our stuff under that tree, under the umbrella of that big tree, and we'll give some shade to the Commonwealth of Australia if they want to take part in our world, but only on certain issues. They won't get complete control of our world. No more.
Yeah.
It's over. Those days are long gone where Australia is the absolute boss here, because the UN Declaration makes it very clear. We have to consult and cooperate in good faith, and the two have to coexist. We're not going away. There's no way. If we ceded all our sovereignty, we'd go away. We'd be gone. Okay, Australia, you can have the lot. Take our people, take our land, take everything. We're gone. No way. That it will never happen, because the treaty will die. You need to have two parties to the treaty. So, like you keep using the analogy of a marriage. What happens when one party to the marriage dies? When your partner dies.
Well, the marriage is over.
The marriage is over. So that's what I'm saying. the treaty will be over. So we've got to always be here, even if it's in a limited capacity or in a large capacity. It doesn't matter. The treaty will be kept alive. And that's the only way Australia will have valid consent to be present upon the territory of any of the Aboriginal nations. So if you're of Aboriginal heritage, start looking very seriously at this and start talking about what you would like to hand over to Australia, to let them do the hard yards, let them do the work. Now, this is the price of crime. Australia's has been riding on the Aboriginals' back all along. Those days are over. It's finished. The day has come now. The day of reckoning has come now. It's what do the Aboriginal people want to hand over to Australia? If they want to hand over nothing, so be it. If give Australia nothing, that's all right. But you've got to work out what you're going to do with all the Australian citizens on your territory. So we're trying to be friendly to Australia at this stage, and we've made an offer to it to let it take some of the tasks that we don't want to do, the mundane tasks, the bean counting, they're doing the bookwork, that adding up all the numbers at the end of the day. We just got more time to be doing more constructive stuff for our people. We should be out looking after our territory and our people and our old people. Uncle here can't do this forever and a day. He's going to have a day where he's got to retire, and he needs to have someone come along to look after him. So this is what we can do. This is the sort of stuff we should be doing, but taking care of our country and our people forever, not for today, tomorrow. And don't accept a few miserable coins that Australia print up for nothing. They can just make this electronic money up, this make-believe stuff, and give it to you and think they've bought your territory off you. There's no way we're taking money for our territory. That is not up for grabs.
No.
So our tree is already here. So we've got a whole rainforest of these trees now. And we're going to keep them rainforest trees alive. And we're going to start to rebuild under that. But we're going to offer some of that shade to the Commonwealth of Australia if they want. Now, the question remains, we have a right to cede some sovereignty. That's our right. They can't take that office and they can't force us to offer it to them. But we want to offer it to Australia first, give them first chance as a preferred supplier of administrative duties as workers. The question remains, what if they say, no, we don't want it? If we don't want to take some of those roles off you, we don't want anything to do with you. It's our territory, remember. This is our territory, not Australia's. Now, if they say, no, we don't want it, that's all right. We offered it to Australia. We can then have the right to offer it to someone else. And it may be to the US, to the United States. Donald, do you want to have some territory over here that you can administer and oversee? Or China, do you want to come here? We'll start to offer this out to other UN member states.
We might get free rice and tin of meat.
Well, it'll be more than that. I tell you, we're not giving it away. It's not going to be cheap to whoever does it. That's one thing to say, at least, but there won't be money involved. That's all I can say. But this is our stuff. This is our right. This is our thing. We've got to remember, this is our world. It's not Australia's world.
That's right.
So we have a right to give some of it away. We may give away a little job like the man who goes around and checks the parking meters. Okay, Australia, you can go and check the parking meters in our territory. Simple as that. That's all we may give away, or we may want to give away the whole lot. But it can range anywhere in between that. So this is the important part to get now. What do you really want to do with the citizens who are the intruders on your territory, with all the people who are not of your tribal nation? What do you want to do with them? How are you going to let them into your world? Or are you going to throw them all out and send them back to where? Where do you put them back to?
Exactly. Hey, listen, while you're at it, have a look at our social media pages. This is Bumi at the Commonwealth Games here with one of the Nigerian athletes there. So if you use Twitter, this is the handle at Yidindji Gov, with a T on the end, government, GOVT. And if you're using the LinkedIn page, you can go here. And the Foreign Affairs Ministry is there as well, and that's a little portal to the Yidindji realm. Also on the Facebook, most of you probably would be using this one, and as you can see, there's just all this different information there that you can have a look at. One of the other things that are important now is that when you create your own office, you have to create your own pieces of paper with your identifiers on it that would reflect your sovereignty or your political sovereignty, whatever you want to call it, through your personality that's been created subject and by your tribal law. That is foreign to the Commonwealth of Australia. So here you'll find all the different things to help you guys out, and there's some wonderful information here, just simple things really to tell the world that, you know what, we've got this here. We've got the Department of Treasury. We've got other things that are happening on our territory as well. For an example, let's have a look at this one here, which you've already seen probably, but this is one of the stamps, obviously, with Nigel Scullion written on it. He's a great Australian, because Nigel talked to the Yidindji government, and he wasn't talking to Indigenous Australians. So this is of the importance now of getting out there, Ganyara, and really taking the world of government and in tribal governance to the international stage, and letting them know that we're here to look after all the UN member actors.
Well, I'm saying take charge of your territory. Under your law, it's your territory under your law. It's not your territory under Australian law. That's the important part to get. We are seen legally and politically through a piece of paper, but it's where that paper is created is the important part. So take charge of your country. Start to rebuild all the institutions that allow you to be getting control of your country again, because while you're being inside Australia, you're going to be like all the rest of Australians. You're going to have no say at all. There's no ifs and no buts about that, because all Australians have the same civil rights and obligations. So to be an Aboriginal Australian or an Indigenous Australian is synonymous to be, or the same as, having left your country. Go back to your law, and you can play both cards together. You can work both of these together. Use both identities, but you can't use them at the same time, which is what a number of us do. I can understand this stuff so clearly now that I know which jurisdiction I'm in right now, and I know later on in which jurisdiction I will be in. You see, it's this being seen legally and politically through a piece of paper. So, like Uncle here, as the police minister, he will have to, or if the officers, not so much Uncle here, but if the officers are out on the beat, the Yidindji officers, they'll have to ascertain the jurisdiction of which a certain individual is in at the time they're talking to him.
Yeah.
Now, if he's an Indigenous Australian, QPS, he's your problem. But if he's
holder of a Yidindji identity,
and he's being seen through that right now, then
we'll deal with this.
We'll sort the matter.
You're still in trouble.
Yeah,
you can't run away from.
You're not escaping.
You can't go making a mess in Australia, then run away from it and come back and say you're Yidindji.
No, absolutely not. No, this is what I'm saying. Now, it's actually broadened out the police powers by entering into a legal agreement, a contract, a treaty with the Yidindji government, the Yidindji nation.
It's like a private security firm, basically.
It sure is. And something that people got to remember, the Yidindji government is the property of the Yidindji nation, which is the property of the old people. So the old people can crush the Yidindji government at any time. If it's going rogue, doing bad things, trying to take all the power away from the Yidindji elders, then them old people just crush it under their foot.
No, we're going to take it and start a new one.
Yep, absolutely, just like a bug. That's something that can't be done inside Australia, because Australia doesn't have this other place to go to. They don't have a tribe of their own. So our lot has these old people with wisdom and knowledge that can sit down together and discuss issues that have taken place in territory outside of Australia.
Now, we've got about 5 minutes left on the program, but just wanted to plug this again. If you really want to make contact with us, you can go to those social media sites. But if you're old-fashioned and you want to give us a call, you can do that via the telephone, and that's 07 4211 4227. That'll come straight to the Sovereign Yidindji Government headquarters, and the people here can take messages. But usually we're here most times, and you can also give us a call. And if you want help with your nation, for example, we're happy to do that and have a chat. And I think that's really important. It's one of the things that Bumi, that we are really here to help people. And when you welcome people and you do that kind of stuff, there's a beauty in actually doing that properly. And now we're just doing it properly from government to government.
See, it's a really good thing that what we're going to do. And I want to do it because as a traditional owner or as a human being, that I've been through this thing. I never had it on the table, and not saying for all of me, but it was in the time, like that looking now that I should be reaching out now to help Aboriginal people. Maybe I'll lose, maybe I'll win, but at least I'm going to try my best to best. See, what really thing that hitting our people is in a community, our lifestyle. We see the bright lights and coming into a town and seeing how the Aboriginal, and we took these things on board like this. The alcohol really put us out there in a light of a nugget light, you know, that this alcohol is a thing that the church brought in. You have a little bit of sip, but just like a river. When it starts from the mountain, it goes out and it goes wider. And it's a thing that we can challenge us in the first generation of it ourselves, that it's hurting us, it's putting us on the street again, like I say, it's making a big show out of ourselves. And when you get sick, the doctor says you should go back to your own food, seafood and all this and that. But it's time that I should get out there now with them and have a talk to them, you know, that is not your culture, you know. This is your land. And when you're on other people's land, that you will respect it too, you know. And they already know that. It's just, when they come into Giyimoy, they come into hospital, they're shopping and that, everything good. But when we start going off track, we really hurt ourselves, you know. Then when I go up and talk to them, I'm not hurting them, they really hurt within themselves, you know. It's going to be a good route there to get it out, but then we'll see how we go with them, you know. So like when we start handling a lot of stuff in ourselves, you know, they'll be turning the other page with you then. And so there's some alcoholic place here where they're going overnight, and like you got Quickley Street and another convention said, I want to get in there in the morning before they get released. Because when they go out to town, they all spread out everywhere. And like you and I see them, remember that it was in that park up there. And going there too. And really put my life out there for them. And I want to do the best that I can with them, you know, and be there, you know.
Oh, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, and not only for us, it's for other people too, you know, like we all got to put our share in and you know, that we can see what we can do on that part, you know.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. Peacekeeping is a beautiful thing, and we just want to say, Go Baragalanyunda, may God's peace be upon you wherever you are, through His only begotten Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, and we'll catch you next time. Until then, we'll say, Guru, Minister, please, Attorney General, thanks very much for coming down.
Thank you. Guru.
Thank you.
Guru.
Cool.